Intisar Fakir. I'm a senior fellow here at the Middle East Institute and the founding director of the North Africa and Sahel program. Thank you very much for joining us again today for this roundtable in cooperation with the North Africa Policy Institute. The roundtable we are holding today is the fourth in a series of roundtables that we are holding this year dedicated to domestic and global challenges impacting Tunisia. This series of roundtable is the second that we have done. As I mentioned, this year we have done a similar series focused on Libya in 2021. If you are interested in revising or reviewing any of these events, you can visit our website at MEI.edu. The roundtables are classified under the past events tab, and you can take a look at this series in its entirety. And while you're also on our website, be sure to check out our program page for writing on North Africa and Sahel affairs. It's a comprehensive compilation of short and long papers, podcasts, and virtual events as well. So please be sure to check that out. Today, our conversation will focus on the theme of migration. It's a cross-cutting and crucial theme with implications on the social sphere. It's a governance theme. It's an economic theme. It's a theme with security implications as well. And as I think we perhaps know it most, it's also a foreign policy issue and theme. So a lot to dig into there. And this is where I'd like to hand the platform over to my colleague, Jean-Louis Ramonet, who will be moderating today's discussion. Jean-Louis is joining us from Tunis together with three excellent speakers that he will introduce shortly. Just to give you a quick introduction, Jean-Louis is the director of the North Africa Policy Initiative. He has over 20 years of hands-on experience in program design implementation, in training and coaching students and activists, and in conducting action-oriented research and strategy evaluation in the fields of civil society, local governance, security, violent extremism, human trafficking and smuggling, migration, health, water, corruption, youth, and women empowerment. Jean-Louis has worked in the DRC, Guinea, Mali, Tunisia, Morocco, and Libya, with more than 30 national and international organizations. So welcome to you, Jean-Louis, and your team, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Intisar. Thank you for the Middle East Institute availability and support, and for hosting together with us these series, the successful Libya series and this Tunisia series. I believe this is the fifth, actually, roundtable of the Tunisia series. I think we have one more to go, and it's been always a pleasure together with you, Intisar, to host so many bright, engaged young youth from the country to discuss issues from their perspective. Today we're going to focus on migration. I'll just say a few words about NAPI, the North African Policy Initiative. We're an independent, non-partisan, and non-profit NGO based in Tunisia, but covering North Africa and actually the broader Mediterranean and Middle East and North Africa. What we seek to achieve is to improve local, national, and regional participatory and democratic governance through active engagement of youth in both society and particularly governance. So today we'll hear the perspective on migration to and from Tunisia, from engaged young Tunisian youth. Unfortunately, Samah, who is joining us from Medellin, is struggling with the connection. She was with us just a few minutes ago, and she's trying to reconnect. Inshallah, she will be able to connect shortly. Before I introduce our speakers today, I'll share with you just a few notes, because not everybody knows about the issue of migration in Tunisia. And I'll share kind of two perspectives, two dimensions. As other countries, Tunisia is first a country of destination, a country of transit for migrants, particularly owing to its geographical proximity to Italy. There are tens of thousands of migrants, particularly from Ivory Coast and Syria in Tunisia, and many who cross Tunisia on the way to Europe. Migrants in Tunisia are increasingly vulnerable. This has been already written by a number of reports, both in terms of addressing basic needs and in terms of protection against exploitation and violence. Unfortunately, the situation is getting worse, most probably due to the worsening socioeconomic conditions in the country. The very same reason, the worsening socioeconomic conditions, are probably the main reason why Tunisia has become increasingly a country of departure. An increasing number of Tunisians are leaving. And just for you to have a few numbers, since the beginning of the year until September of this year, there were 14,000 Tunisians reaching Italy through the central Mediterranean route. Which makes it the largest country contingent of any route reaching Europe. That adds also to another 24,000 Tunisians and migrants from other countries stopped and brought back, according to Tunisian authorities. Talking about Tunisians, the number of Tunisians abroad has doubled in the last 20 years. And in the last few years, particularly since 2017, the number of people from Tunisia willing to take the risk of emigrating through irregular means has steadily increased. And the last thing I'll say is that recently, we're now observing worrisome new trends. Notably, the fact that entire families are embarking into this dangerous journey, one of the most dangerous migration routes in the world, the central Mediterranean route. Fathers, mothers, pregnant mothers at times, together with children. Another new worrisome trend is the departure of individuals who already have employment, so not unemployed individuals. So these are new trends that are worrisome. So this begs a number of questions, and Tunisians should have an opportunity to share their perspective, particularly young, engaged Tunisians, like the ones that we have today. I really hope that Sameh will be able to join us, but I will introduce our three speakers in alphabetical order so that I don't have to pick. So Hamza Beshoud is a senior coordinator for the migration program at the Innovation and Planning Agency, Switchboard. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Previously, he was regional project coordinator at Coffee International Development and project assistant at the International Organization for Migration, IOM, as it's known. Project coordinator at Search for Common Ground, and he held multiple positions at iWatch, a Tunisian NGO. Hamza has been working on humanitarian and development projects in national and international organizations for more than 9 years. He has designed several local, regional, and international programs relating to humanitarian response, migration, peace, and security. Great to have you, Hamza. Sameh, who is a remarkable young woman from Medellin and a friend, hopefully will be able to join us. Sameh Bouchniba is the Finance and HR Director for Amal Association in Medellin, which is a southern city in southern Tunisia near Zarzis and the Libyan border. The organization focuses on migration issues. Previously, she volunteered in the Center for Migrant, Refugees, and Asylum Seekers in Medellin, notably helping trace migrants' family links and restore family connections. Sameh has a bachelor degree in chemistry and a bachelor degree in accounting and finance. She's also worked as a laboratory assistant at Medellín's University Hospital. Last but not least, Ghassan Dridi has 8 years of experience working on migration issues. He's a former junior advisor at the Tunisian Presidency of the Republic and co-founder and former executive director of ALDA, African Leadership and Development Association. He's currently a researcher on African Union policies, finishing a master's thesis on innovation management and working as senior IT analyst and consultant on migration. He graduated in IT, public law, and political communication. So thank you for joining us today. I'll start by asking you about migrants in Tunisia. So As we say, Tunisia is a country of destination and a country of transit for migrants. From your perspective, could you help us understand the main issues facing migrants in Tunisia? Ghassan, I will start with you. Would you like to help us understand?
Hello, thank you, Jean-Louis. From my perspective, I will take two subjects to start. The first of them is economic challenges, and also the racism issues. For the economic challenges, let's say most of the migrants in Tunisia are coming from sub-Saharan African countries, especially the French-speaking ones. Most of the irregular migrants are working in, let's say, illegal markets. So it's all about an illegal framework started since long years over here in North Africa in general, and in Tunisia in our case. These migrants are focusing on, let's say, on working illegally in illegal trades, just to have enough money to travel to Europe, as you explained, Johnny. So through this South Mediterranean route, which is very, very dangerous. We have a lot of migrants settling all together, mostly illegally. They have legal issues, papers, and administrative papers with Tunisian governments and authorities, and so on. They can start their jobs legally. They can't work legally, which also makes them under a huge threat of economic abuse and also racism. For racism, it's probably a big issue over here. We probably may need another session, a whole session for it. But long story short, let's say that our local society are really really a lot of work on racist issue, because a lot of people are considering these migrants are the source of troubles. They don't belong here, and they should go either from where they come, or take the boats with Tunisians that we will speak about it later, I guess, to Europe, especially to Italy. The picture is not only black picture, it's a hard situation, but let's say there is some light there, because even if we have an anti-racism law since, let's say, 4 years, it's not really applied, but the law exists. Civil society organizations need to work on the application of the law alongside with Tunisian authorities. We will see what will come. And also for the economic part, let's say with the startups ecosystem starting and evaluating in Tunisia today, there is also slight hope that the economic integration of migrants, most of them sub-Saharan migrants, again, will be improved soon.
Thank you. You raised a number of issues. Hamza, in face of these issues that Ghassan raised, what do you think are the hurdles for the integration of migrants in society?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jean-Louis. Thank you, NAPI, for this innovation, for speaking up and sharing information. For me, what I know is we don't have a legal framework for sub-Saharan migrants and Tunisian, how to integrate them in jobs. So, for example, most of sub-Saharan here is taking irregular routes to Tunisia, either come as students, then they spend the whole journey here. Also, family reunion here. Like my cousin is in Tunisia, come, and we are talking also about the mafia, who can bring the people from sub-Saharan to Tunisia as a student, then they trade them, so they become a victim of trades. So for me, the Tunisian the legal framework is not existing for migrants or sub-Saharians or any residents. Like if you don't have a contract in Tunisia, at least for 1 year, you cannot get a residency, you cannot get a job. So you're now a potential victim of threat or a potential victim of trafficking. So once you come to Tunisia and you don't have any plans or clue what you will do to get money or improve your life, you're being a victim of threat. So you will go to illegal jobs, getting paid 10 dinars for 8 hours working, cleaning or in restaurant or any other jobs that needs muscles, let's say. So no contracts for that. So you're being a victim of threat. So I believe as a plan of integration, we need also to let's say to counsel those migrants. Let's decide if you guys are a victim of trafficking, if you're a victim of threat. How did you come to Tunisia? What's your plan? What do you need? Why did you come to Tunisia? First, let's ask those questions. We need to know. Then, if your plan is just to come to Tunisia as a transit country, then you go to Europe. That's another situation. If you are coming to Tunisia to work, to improve your life, to get some salary better than the place you were, all right, let's talk about that. What's your plan? Do you have a vocational training? Do you have knowledge? Do you have any certificate that can get you a proper job, not a legal job? So yeah, more of this is the individual approach, face to face, getting a framework in Tunisia for migrants. How can we deal with them? Well, once they have a proper job, what's the proper paper, like the guideline. So before you come to Tunisia, you know what to do.
Thank you, Hamza. So what you just said resonates with the experience that a few colleagues and I have by going to households in need in the neighborhoods in northern Tunis. And many lament the fact that they cannot get a job because they don't have any official documents, even after months, years that they are in the country. But that calls for an institutional response to the issue. I wonder, for both of you, if you also foresee some actions and initiatives on behalf of the society that can help the condition of migrants and overcome some of the problems that you just mentioned. Let's end.
Let's say during the last 10 years, especially, there has been a lot of civil society organizations working on that specific issues with migrants coming and let's say to Tunisia as a destination or as a departure country again. But still, there has been a lot of issues for these NGOs work. For example, we couldn't, as a former activist in several NGOs working on that specific issue, we couldn't find a permanent solution for the administrative issues that are threatening these migrants, or let's say also we couldn't also find permanent and long-term solutions either to their economic integration or also their social lives. We are still trying again and again with a lot of programs, but a lot of those programs also are funded by international institutions, either governmental or non-governmental ones, and everyone has its own, let's say, perspective. I don't want to use the word agenda, but let's say perspective and goals. Some of these goals may get along together. Some of them no. For example, for the last 4 years, there is an increasing number of programs to train migrants, even that haven't paper, irregular migrants, to train them here in Tunisia in order to encourage them either to stay here or to get back to their original countries. Without the main goal is without them taking the boats with Tunisians to go to Italy and through Italy to whole Europe. These programs are increasing, as I said, with a lot of money sometimes, but the efficiency of these programs is not that. Let's say it does not fit what these programs funders and funders are hoping. Let's say also from Tunisian society perspective, there is a lot of also work alongside with the racism issue, and there are a lot of ideas that exist in society. For example, if some black woman is working in the streets, she will hear a lot of not very nice stuff because of not only her color, but also because she is here simply here. These issues either are growing also with the economic difficulties that Tunisia is facing since a lot of years, actually. And let's say there is a lot of work in order to put the migration in the right agenda of also politicians and in society. There's a lot of work for the media, in the media, but with the media, a lot of work in the whole society, and a lot of educational work and economic and administrative work, with the difficulties that the country is facing since several years. I don't see, let's say, things will be really good in a few years. It needs a lot. It needs at some point something that will push the migration issues to the top priorities.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Hamza, what is your take? What can be done besides an institutional approach?
Let's say I have experienced a couple of things in this terms. So building on Ghassan's speaking, so for me, I would give three concrete examples. So for example, Yunus Shah in Tunisia is working on asylum seekers and migrants. So they are using service contractors. Those service contracting and trying to have an integration plan for the migrants or asylum seekers in Tunisia. So they try to hire migrants or asylum seekers in a civil society organization, companies, or any jobs, but with contracts. So if there is no contract, they would not hire the sub-Saharans. For me, example, in my program, Haraga program that lasts from 21 to 22, we had a couple of issues of colleague that we have. Like we have a sub-Saharan colleague that we hire, but we cannot issue a long-term residency like for the duration of the project. The project has been for 18 months. We were able only to provide him with 1 year residency. The other 8 months we could not, because it's not 1 year. So there is no residency without 1 year contract, and that's not applicable. You cannot do that. If this guy has a residency for 1 year, he's free to go to look for another job. Give him the time. Maybe there's another company who would like to hire this person with his skills. Another thing, when during our councils with migrants and vulnerable people, especially in SPACs, so we were able through our networks to find people who would like to hire sub-Saharians, but we obliged them to hire them with a contract, social security, so to provide them with the rights to stay in Tunisia and dignity and human rights. Otherwise, also there's a place between Gibbs and Merith. It's a factory. It's that produces fish production and everything. He's mainly using sub-Saharians with a legal contract, with a social security contract, helping them in the fish production instead of Tunisians. Because let's say a couple of Tunisians is not available to do the job, or they don't want to do that job. But this factory have found this sub-Saharians who would express to find to work. Also, he's providing accommodation and a proper salary. And in line with the Tunisian authority legal framework of work. So they have 2 days and a half day leave per month, social security, and a proper thing. So if the Tunisian authority can, let's say, facilitate the paperwork, we can integrate those people properly, and we can find them jobs. And also they can find the job themselves, but we have an issues of the legal documents and then the facilitation of the paperwork when it comes to the administration. Even, for example, the municipalities, they're using cleaning people as sub-Saharians. So sub-Saharians are used to clean the streets, doing Gardenian things in the streets. But that's not a permanent contract. It's, let's say, I don't know how to call it, but it's summertime or part-time job. It comes per seasonal jobs. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hassan, before I ask you and switch the conversation to Tunisians, you have a point you wanted to make.
Yes. I would love to mention also that all these efforts should be combined in a real and concrete public policy on migration over here with sub-Saharan NGOs, with Tunisian NGOs, and with international NGOs working over here. There is a lot of work done in civil society. And also, as a researcher, I have been reading a lot of good and interesting papers and so on. What we especially need is to gather all these efforts in a clear public policy initiative, not NAPI, but a clear public policy initiative to make things concrete and better for everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We need better policies, and everybody is entitled to contribute with ideas, opinions, analysis. Thank you for your work. Let's switch now to the other aspect of the phenomenon of migration, this time focusing on Tunisians leaving the country. As I mentioned earlier, and you know better than me, the numbers are increasing. So the first question is actually very basic. What is driving this increase, and why an increasing number of Tunisians are willing to risk their life by embarking in an extremely dangerous migration route through irregular means? Hamza.
Yeah. So for me, what my perspective is, we are not talking about poverty. Sorry, I'm sorry to say this. We are not talking about poverty. We are talking about the social aspect, the social situation in Tunisia, the socio-economic fragility. People are looking to improving their lives, because if you are willing to pay 7,000 up to 8,000 to embark from the Mediterranean Sea towards Italy, we are not talking about poverty. You worked or you sold something that cost brings you 8,000 or 7,000, and you're going to Europe. And
sorry for the audience, 8,000 dinars we're talking about is almost around $3,000, just shy of that.
Yeah. Also, the Balkan route is the more expensive route. So from January 2022 until October 31, 22, we are talking about 10% of the Tatooine population has left the country through the Balkan route. So we are talking about almost 15,000 person has used the Balkan route. And the Balkan route is around 25K up to 30K. It depends what route are you taking from the Balkan route. So we are not talking about poverty. People are able to provide this amount, and let's say taking a flight, have a pocket of money, hotel, the PSR, and etc., etc. So it's not poverty. We are talking about social economic fragility, stable and long-term contracts. We're talking about to improve people's life, because if you are here a carpenter or smith, you're getting for maximum 1,000 dinar, which is 300 euros per month. In Europe, you can get the same for the same job, you can get 3,000 euros. So we are talking about that. So people are looking for that stability, for that security. Also, we're talking about the long-term contracts, so the services, and if to make your life easier. Here you get 1,000, then you have struggles with the services. If you want to have a legal paper, you take ages to get your paper, any other things. So we don't have that, let's say, comfort in everything. So people need to struggle every day. So even an employer would give around 7,000-8,000 to go to embark to Europe, because he's looking for life improvement. It's not just about the money he's taking, 2,000 or 2,500 in Tunisia, which will not do anything to you now, currently at the moment, and to embark to Europe. Sorry, our less paid people should take 500 dinars. We're talking about the less rent you can get in a normal neighborhood, not poor neighborhood, is 700, 800, and you have a family and you need to feed them, and etc., etc. This, no. So we are talking about people are embarking to improve their lives, looking for stability, long-term solution for themselves. Let's say the Europe dream, like the American dream. So people are sending in the social media, come to Serbia, come to take the Balkan route, because they are obliged by the mafia of the Balkan route to send this social media videos to the people. So people will encourage themselves. They collect like 30,000 or 25K to go to the Balkan route and take that migration journey, which is not that easy. Also, people are getting dying from freezing, being hit by a policeman. Sometimes people break their arms, legs, etc., etc. So it's not safe as well as the Mediterranean route. It's not safe too. People are drowning and etc. So for me, it's not just a poverty or the normal thing. People are now getting to Europe for improving their lives, because they have the amount, so they can give it to the people who do the embarking or the Balkan route. And yeah,
I got you. It's great to see that Samah was able to join us. Welcome to Samah. I hope that your audio works. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the question. I was basically asking, why are Tunisians migrating, increasingly leaving the country through irregular means? And Hamza just made a point that it's well beyond economic drivers. I think he was a bit provocative that say, no, poverty has nothing to do with it. But I hear your point that there is a social, structural driver much deeper than just economic. But Samah, since you're in Medellin and you're in the south and you're in the first line, and also Tunisia is very diverse economically, what is your perspective in terms of what's driving migration? What are the main drivers, in addition to this lack of long-term perspective and stability?
Hi everybody. I'm so sorry for this problem, technical problem. As Hamza said, there is so many reasons for the migration of Tunisian to Europe, especially economics one. So I think the economic situation in Tunisia has been a little bit so hard. That's why they are migrating to Europe, especially the social repression of unemployment and of people, and also I think about the ability of Tunisians' political leadership to improve the economic situation in the country. Also, in particular, the worsening since 2017, affecting both low increased population and the middle class of
so hopefully she can join again. The connection in Medellin and the south of Tunisia comes and goes. While she joins back, Ghassan, I turn the question to you. And also another thing that I know you looked into is how the media is covering migration and the issue related to media. Hamza already pointed out to the media by mentioning the videos that are watched, some being, almost created intentionally to attract migration and direct it to Europe. But anyways, there's a whole lot going to the media and the impact of the media. Can you help us have your perspective on this?
Yes, yes, of course. But first, while I agree with most of what Hamza said, because when you have that amount of money to go illegally to Europe, whatever the route you are taking, there are a lot of people that, let's say, don't have that money, and they are really in a difficult economic and social situation, and so they are leaving the country, hoping for a better life simply. Also, let's say we have an idea here in Tunisia about migrating in Europe. We are saying if you are working for 20 or 25 years here in Tunisia, you would better work for 5 or 7 years in Europe. It's better for you to have the same amount of money or so on. There are a lot of jokes about this comparison in Tunisian society, which is probably not always true, sometimes true also. I would also want to point to stress on the fact that, let's say, historically speaking, a lot of Tunisian people were working on trades with Maltese, with Italians, with French, with Turkish, and with Algerians, with Libyans, and so on. So there is, let's say, we inherited the idea that working abroad may be also a solution, legally or illegally, it's another matter. But there is a huge hope for people traveling, so that they improve quickly their lives comparing to here. The media in all this, just to go back to your question, Jean-Louis, let's say when a train arrives in time, it's not news. But when there is a train accident, it's a news. Let's say it's the same for illegal or irregular migration. Say I don't really like the word illegal, so let's say call it irregular migration. Since the Schengen visa was in, let's say, some decades ago, media are really treating the issue of sex migration, let's say, occasionally. When we have a tragedy like the tragedy of Zarzis around 3 weeks ago, would love to Samir to speak about it as she's there. Let's say media are treating that tragedy. When Tunisia is discussing with International Monetary Fund some loans or some readjustment programs for the country, we speak about the foreign, let's say, the foreign pressure about the irregular migration and so on in the media. But we are, let's say, we are not treating the point strategically. We're not treating the points with a long-term vision. We are just speaking the events, either economic or social or humanitarian disasters and so on, which makes the idea. Yes, we discuss in our media about the reasons and so on, but it stays occasional. It stays not enough, in my opinion. And let's also it also suffers from some political influence, either foreign political influence or local political influence all the time. We would love to see a clear or specialized media channel on migration, either but it does not exist. Even though some small programs weekly or monthly exist, especially in radios, but it's not also enough. Either we are treating the migration seriously and we are speaking with all the strategies and all the issues concretely and freely also, or we don't. It's disappointing for me. So I have to admit it. It's a little bit disappointing to see how the media coverage is going on for migration issues.
Thank you. And I think that as a European, I can actually agree on the same disappointment from the northern shore of the Mediterranean. Migration through the media has become extremely contentious, and it's very difficult to have a balanced, full, deep coverage. It becomes even more problematic at times when there are particularly sensitive issues that arise. And I want you to bring some perspective on some very contentious issues that have arisen, particularly in Tunisia, recently. For those who do not follow Tunisia closely, not long ago, there were dead bodies retrieved at sea in the south, in Zarzis, and these bodies were buried hastily without taking the time to actually test the DNA, get the origin and trace the origin and therefore the identity of these bodies. That created a lot of commotion in Tunisia because many Tunisians are leaving, many families see their family members disappear and have no news anymore. And when they see that in the news, it created a lot of resentment towards authorities. And the situation is still very volatile in the south. A second issue that is contentious and is creating a lot of commotion is the issue of migrants, Tunisian migrants that are forcefully repatriated from Italy through the agreements that Italy and Tunisia have signed, and how these are managed. So I'd like to ask you to provide your perspective on one or both of these issues. I will start with you, Hamza, and I wish Sama had been with us because I know that she worked on this particular issue and she is in Medellin, and she works also in Zerzis. But anyways, Hamza.
So yeah, I'll start with the expelled Tunisians, then I'll get back to the chaos in Jersey. So first of all, we have many Tunisian expelled coming back from Italy, France, Germany. Let's say not every week, but every month. So, the Tunisian authority do it actually. They accept them in the airport. If you have any legal issues with the Tunisian authorities, if you have any crime you have done, you'll stay at the airport. Otherwise, after 3 hours of interrogation, you will be taken by the bus to the main car stations. Like in Tunisia, we have Bab Aliou. Then if they are expelled from Menfida airport, they will come to Sousse station. I forgot the name. So then they leave them. Nothing. That's it. So no integration plan. They have an issue of getting their paperwork again, renewing their paperwork again, like identity, passports. It will be a long journey for them to renew that cards or passport, because then there's a systematic thing in the Ministry of Interior. If this guy should stay in Tunisia like 5 years, he don't get the passport, he can get ID, that's all, etc., etc. There is an internal affair in that, because he was expelled from Italy or Tunisia, from Italy or France or Germany. So there is no integration plan. This person is coming with a trauma journey, mental health issues. You've been for 20 years, and for example, in Germany, in Italy, and Tunisia, and France, and in one day you find yourself in the valley. What would I will do? They took all my money, they took all my cars, my insurance, whatever. What I'm doing in Tunisia. This needs a psychosocial support to get this trauma out, actually. This will take you, it depends from your journey, from your trauma as a person. How long have you been in Europe? How is this affecting you? Your image in your neighborhood, in your family. He spent like 20 years, 10 years in Europe, then he comes just with nothing. This is affecting the person itself. So we need counseling. We need a psychosocial support first. So we can get him out from that bubble. We can get him out from that black hole. So he can start and build his life again. So then if he's lacking the trainings and what he wanna do as a planning, we can do that through the counseling and social work. So this should be worked by the Ministry of Social Affairs or another NGOs. For me, I know this specifically because I worked during the last 2 years on this, especially from the expelled migrants from Tunisia, from France, Germany, and Italy. So I know this very well. There is no integration plan.
We lost you for a minute.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. There's some.
We have you back.
Yeah, so I know that from my previous program, the switchboard.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe I'll get back to you for the bodies. Your connection is breaking up a bit.
You know?
Yep, I hear you now. Let me get back to you maybe for the retrieve bodies, but
no,
Hassan,
it's okay.
Yes, it's good. I'll get back to you, Hassan. What is your take on these two issues? Maybe you can also say your perspective on migrants who have been forcefully repatriated to Tunisia.
Yes. So besides the legal staff and the authorities' behavior towards these the Tunisians sent back to their country, I want to highlight 2 points actually. Either their social reintegration and economic reintegration. For social reintegration, these people are really suffering from their own society because let's say their former friends, their families, the neighborhood, and so on. They will look at they usually look at them at those who take a risk with a lot of money, with the amounts that Hamza explained earlier, and went to Europe and failed. There is some kind of failure face they are putting on these people, which is not really great. And actually, it's really a handicap for them for sexual integration. This comes with a lot of local NGOs working on their social reintegration, but still, I think the main issue for them, besides some paperwork, like passport and so on, like Hans explained, their new status in the society they left, either for a long or even for a short period, but the experience of being sent back without clear programs of reintegration, either from long-term programs from NGOs or the government, the authorities, makes them, let's say, also a victim of this lack of work, and makes them also the first candidates to get back again to Europe throughout any route they can find, or let's say as soon as possible. Let's say to get out from the place that didn't welcome them back at all. For the economic challenge, if even they want to stay, there will be a huge gap. For example, if someone let's say worked in France, Germany, Italy, so on, for 3 or 4 years before being sent back, usually he worked there without papers, with the wrong papers, with the wrong diplomas, the wrong and in a wrong place. How will be he explaining this gap for his new employees employers in Tunisia? How will be he explaining that he actually was working in a field or in another field, in any field actually, for real, as he didn't have the correct papers back to the time he was in Europe. And usually also Tunisian employers are a little bit scared from people sent back, as they said, they didn't have their paper, they're working in illegal stuff in Europe, drugs and with mafia, or whatever it was. Maybe it's not true, but still there is this idea. And for me, there is really a huge work that still needs to be done, and either from the authorities themselves to facilitate reintegration with papers and so on. And again, for me, it's also connected to what I said before about the public policy on migration. It goes both ways, for Tunisian migrating, for Tunisian getting back, for sub-Saharan migrating to Tunisia, for sub-Saharan getting leaving from Tunisia. The thing is, so beside even if there is a small efforts actually from small NGOs, which is very let's say very honorable, but still I don't think it's enough. It's far from being enough actually.
Okay. I'd like to leave some time to address questions that the audience is sending in, and I invite anybody to send your questions. Before I do, I still would like to ask if you have any reflections on the current crisis about the bodies that were retrieved from the sea. Hamza?
Yeah, for now, let's say Georgis is a chaos. Let's say it that way. It's a chaos. because let me very explain the search and rescue, let's say, thing in Tunisia. The Coast Guard
very briefly.
Yeah, the Coast Guard hears there's a boat collapsing. They go there. If there's the boat is sinking, they take the migrants to their boat. If not, they are connecting the rope to their main boat. Then they bring them to the shore. That's it. They put them in the custody. They register them, and people are very afraid from Tunisian authorities, especially the sub-Saharan people. So they give them wrong names, wrong numbers. Then whatever place they saying coming from, they send them back to that place. That's it. Nothing. No medical team, no nothing. So people are missing. Let's say the Tunisian authority is missing the search and rescue proper job. We're talking about lack of technical people, lack of the High Commission of Disaster to intervene. They only intervene on the and other things, but they don't intervene on retrieving bodies or search and rescue in the sea. So we are missing a lack of equipment. So people are being retrieved from the sea or being rescued at the sea. Those people are dehydrated, sunburned, and need first aid intervention. This is not happening. When you go to the shore, if it's not that provided in the boat immediately with the snacks and everything, you should find that in the shore, right? A medical team, food and snacks, because people had experienced this situation. People people dying. So those people are traumatized. So you need an intervention, a proper intervention. You need a medical team, food and snacks, being a psychologist, asking people, experiment people or technical people, talking to these people, trying to make them feel comfortable, trying to take the situation. This is for the search and rescue thing. Let's talk about the body retrieving. The Tunisian authority, if they found a body in the shore, they take it, they bury it, nothing more. In the sea, they take it in the boat, they bring it, they give it to the municipality, and the municipality uses talk to the Red Cross or any other organization, they bury it, that's it. There's no DNA testing, there's no nothing, because the lack of equipment. This is what they say. But we are talking about evidence of responsibility. People are not taking their proper responsibility. You should, once you retrieve a body, yes, you bury it, but you take a DNA test first. You keep it with you. So if anybody is looking or trying to connect his family person, you have a DNA. Take the DNA first, then bury it. Then you will find this body again, and you can link it to his family. Try to do a proper family linking through the DNA, through searching, calling your. Try to go to the other embassies like Italy. If you are embarking to Italy, try to contact your councils. Find your people in the detention center in Italy. Try if Italian authorities has retrieved some bodies. Try that. Search and rescue. Try to call any other authorities in the seas. Have an intervention in the seas, so you can link families. People are trying to find the. Yeah.
Sorry, right. I want to take a few questions from the audience and still give a chance, Rasen, if you can take just 1 minute to share your perspective on the issue.
Yes, about the bodies found in Zarzis, and usually in a lot of other places, but we are talking about Zarzis now due to the tragedy that happened weeks ago. It's also a source of very let's say dangerous social tensions in the region. Yes, the government didn't push, let's say, these people to travel in that way, not directly at least, but the government's, let's say, the local authorities' reactions, as Hamza explained, made people very angry, and at some point we will let's say some people also are saying, okay, they will get angry for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they will be also after that quiet, and we will move on. But it happened repeatedly, and what happened in Jaziz was probably so let's say it's probably something different, and it's probably also a beginning of a new protests in other places if the tragedy will happen again, and most likely and unfortunately I am sad to say, I'm really sad to say it will happen again sooner or later.
Thank you. Let's see if we can take a few questions. So we have a few questions here. I'll start by the first. Hasna is asking to you, Hassan, knowing that, you know, what Hamza said on the lack of legal framework to allow for migrants to work in Tunisia, the question is, can you elaborate on what you said concerning economic integration in startups?
Yes, there is a new law about the Startup Act handling the startups in Tunisia or from Tunisia, working with Tunisians. It does not resolve entirely or even partially the problem of administrative papers for sub-Saharan migrants, for migrants in general in Tunisia, but there are a lot of promises, especially with the incubators and the accelerators working on with these startups in their different life cycles and so on. There are some promises about finding a solution to resolve administrative issues for those startups, especially. It's a slight hope, yes. I don't have. I heard about these promises, let's say, but nothing yet. Concretely, nothing yet.
Okay. Hamza, maybe a question to you. Raymond is asking regarding migration from Tunisia to Europe about the breakdown between people who are unemployed and or uneducated and those instead with university degrees and employed people, families. You may not have updated statistics in front of you, and as a matter of fact, Raymond, there is a report written by the Tunisian Center for Statistics this year. You will find it online if you search it. You will find statistics there. By memory, I recall that as a matter of fact, the migrants tend to be those that are more educated, the ones that actually have money to spend and desire to encourage to embark in a journey to migrate and bring a better living for their family and community, which is already confirming a trend, a paradox of migration, which is when the socioeconomic conditions increase from a low level to a medium level in terms of education and means, migration doesn't go down. Paradoxically, it can increase. It only goes down later when advances are greater. But I wonder, Hamza, if you're observing the trends that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, which is that there is a new phase of migration. The type of migration, the people who are embarking in these boats are different.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, people are embarking different from many backgrounds. We are talking about people, educated people, like high educated people. I give you an example in the monastery. There's a person who embarked to Europe with his family, let's say, he has a car, he has a stable job, he has a proper salary, he sell all that, and he get with his family to the boat and embark to Europe. Why? Because he's trying to improve his life, because he's sick of the services. He wanted to issue paperwork. It will take him ages. If you want to transfer or buy something, there will be a huge taxes. If you wanted to enhance something in your house or something, you take a loan, but the loan will kill you because there's a huge TMN. Sorry, we are talking about too much things that makes people to try to improve their lives, because there is no, let's say, people cannot find the proper contracts outside. So they look for jobs, but they cannot get. There's the barrier of language, for example, in Italy, Germany, or other European countries. The European countries has policies. You cannot work except without a work authorization. How can I get a work authorization? I need a contract. How can I get a contract? I need a work authorization. How can I get a work authorization? It's a long story. So it's like, who came first, the chicken or the egg? So it's the same. So we are talking about the same. So people try to get in the Mediterranean route, then they will try to find the jobs in Italy and whatever. By time they will regularize their situation in Europe. So, and when your cousin or your family or some of your friends sends you a video or pictures or talk to you in a coffee, says like, I spent 2 years in Europe and I have a Mercedes CLS. You see, you take ages to get the Mercedes CLS in Tunisia. It's a 900,000 in Tunisia now. In Europe, it's just 10,000. Sorry, that doesn't match in the Tunisian mind. So people will do whatever to embark, to improve their lives. We are talking about.
I ask both of you if, based on what you said, that these new profile of migrants would be the symptom of something that you said earlier, that it's well beyond poverty, that the drivers of migration are becoming so deep and systemic and multidimensional that they're pushing individuals to migrate that are actually very diverse, entire families, people who have employment, unemployed people. Would that, in your opinion, be the indication that the drivers of migration have become deeper and more diverse rather than what they were before compared? Sam is back. Hassan, what do you think?
Excuse me, Jordi, if you can quickly repeat the question, please.
Yeah, I was just trying to draw a conclusion from what you said, and we have just a couple of minutes to wrap up, but I wonder if you would agree with a consideration that based on what you say, then the fact that economic drivers are no longer explaining migration and the profile of migrants is becoming different. Is that telling us that it is the result of changed conditions, and that now the root causes for migration are worsening conditions that are social, political, and more systemic, so that people actually give up their hope for a better future, not just what they will be earning or the current condition?
For me, the economic conditions remain the main cause, but what Hamza said and explained very well 2 or 3 times earlier, there is also some kind of social pressure for especially young people that can relatively stay finding some decent work with decent salary and so on, but they prefer going abroad either regularly or irregularly. I just think also that, let's say, the absence of a vision. There is no Tunisian dream concretely here in Tunisia. Each one of us is going through his own path, but the country as a country, it's not necessarily only the government's authorities responsibility. It's also a social responsibility for families, for NGOs, for political parties, for everyone actually. There is no clear vision of what will be coming up in Tunisia in 20 or 30 or 40 years. There is no common conviction that the country will go better. So if you are doing well, working decently, having a decent salary, you will say, okay, if things will be standing here at this point for another 15 or 20 years, so better for me to go to go abroad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I'm glad that Sameh could be with us at least at the end. Too bad that you couldn't share your perspective more substantively. But I want to close thanking you all. Actually, I'll just share a question in which there is also a statement by Taher, who actually argues that the migration in Zarzis, in the southern town on the shore from where many migrants depart, he argues that currently there's an effect of socialization to migration, and that migration is becoming a source of identity, a vision for youth already when they're young. And that is an interesting consideration. So I'd like to thank you, all you, Hamza Besyoud, Sameh Bouchniba, and Ghassan Dridi, for joining us and sharing your perspective with us on this very, very sensitive and important issue. And I would like to thank the Middle East Institute. Intisar had to leave us, but Gabriel Perenchio is still with us. Thank you very much for your hard work and the Middle East Institute. And thank you to my team as well, the North African Policy Initiative, for helping coordinate, find great speakers. And I look forward to seeing you for the next roundtable in about a month. That will be on the issue of gender and the role of women. Thank you very much.